I used to often find myself asking myself, why does it still feel so heavy? Why do I feel stuck in the same cycle, even when I've done so much inner work? I would sit with my journal, my meditation, healing practices, but still, same wounds kept resurfacing in love, in work, in how I felt in my own skin. And no matter how much I try to push forward, there would always be this faint noise, this deep ache that would say something is missing. So my love, if this sounds familiar, I want you to know that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. What may be happening here is that there is an aspect of you that is still holding the pain of the past, that doesn't feel safe enough to let this pain go. Because by letting this pain go, you will become your true self. And that doesn't feel safe. And this is what I call the wounded feminine, that aspect of us that doesn't fully trust to be herself. And when she's running the show, the life feels heavy, love feels unsafe, your body feels like it's carrying a weight that words can't explain. So today, let's talk about this wounded feminine, this part of you, gently, truthfully, and without any shame. Because the moment we allow ourselves to clearly see her, we can begin to come back home to ourselves. So, what is a wounded feminine? I want to explain it in a form of a story so that it lands in your heart. Now, imagine a little girl, and as you're imagining, allow yourself to see you as the little girl. She comes into the world with her eyes full of wonder, her heart wide open, trusting everyone. Her body dances without needing the music, and her soul expresses itself freely and unapologetically. She knows how to move through her feelings, and she's in love with her emotions, all kinds of emotions. She cries when she's sad. She laughs when she's joyful, and she loves without holding back. But as she grows up, the life begins to whisper in her ears. Don't be so sensitive. Don't be too loud. You are too much. Stop being weak. Don't cry. Be strong. Good girls don't get angry. Don't argue. Stay quiet. What are you wearing? And you're not supposed to dance like that. So little by little, what she does is she silences all the parts of her that makes her alive, that makes her joyful. Why? Because she wants to be liked. She wants to feel accepted and she wants to be loved. So she hides her tears, she swallows her rage, she doubts her intuition, and she covers her softness with the masks of perfection and strength because she thinks that's what the world wants to see. So now what you see on the outside is this picture perfect version of this girl, this woman, but on the inside, a wound has been created. This is how the wounded feminine is born. Now, there are many other reasons. There are many more reasons because of which this wound gets created within us. But the point is that if the wounded feminine is controlling our life, or if we are living through this kind of energy, we should be aware of it. Now, we'll look at some points, some important points that show up in our daily life through which we can know if the wounded feminine is controlling our life or not. Number one is seeking external validation and lack of self trust. So, in this case, you may look at yourself seeking approval in every little thing in your life, how you look, how you speak, and even all the choices and decisions that you make. You second guess yourself, you rely more on mentors, your friends, your teachers, your relatives, your family, and you think that they have the answers that you're seeking. And sometimes you even trust strangers more than yourself. And deep down, there's a longing to be told that you're right, you're enough, because you don't fully believe in your own self. Next is difficulty in expressing emotions. So maybe you grew up in a world or in a family, in an environment where the emotions were rejected or silenced. So you learned to say, I'm fine, with a smile when you were actually suffering inside. Basically, vulnerability feels really threatening. It's not safe to be vulnerable, is what you believe in. So your emotions stay trapped inside the body instead of free flowing. Next is people pleasing and self sacrifice. You are always there for others, giving and holding space. But this all comes often at the expense of yourself. You feel exhausted completely, like you know that this is something you should not be doing, but still you keep going. And it's very difficult for you to say no because saying no means unlovable. So if you're saying no to somebody, you don't want to give this impression that, you think that they are unlovable or you're not agreeing to it. And also, in a way, it's the opposite way that if you say no, you will not be loved by them. And you give in order to secure love and avoid conflict. But my love, this way your own needs go unmet. Next is fear of rejection and abandonment. So, here, maybe because of past betrayals or loss, you hold yourself back in relationships. So, you guard yourself, you guard your heart, and push people away because you want to reject them before they reject you. So it's like before they leave, let me just leave from here. And it's not because you don't need love in your life or you don't want it, you don't desire it, you don't crave it sometimes. It's because your heart is too afraid of being hurt again. Next is difficulty setting boundaries. People often cross their boundaries in your life and you let them. Now, this is very similar to people pleasing. It's actually an extension of people pleasing behavior, but this is where we go extreme. Like, this is an extreme case of people pleasing when people stop respecting your boundaries. And even when your body screams, it's enough, you say yes. No feels, in this case, very harsh and selfish. But you know what happens here? This kind of behavior, when you're letting people walk over you, or when you're letting people like cross those boundaries, those safe boundaries of yours, you eventually build some sort of resentment inside of you, which sometimes can show up in your life, like this kind of resistance that you're storing inside. It can manifest in form of body pains, body aches, and illnesses. Next one is emotional reactivity. When emotions are suppressed for far too long, they don't get disappear on their own. They sit in the body. They get logged inside the cells. And eventually, even the small things can trigger big waves, outbursts of anger, rage, tears, sadness. And it's perfectly fine because all these things are like your expression of the body. And this should not be considered as weakness because it's just the expression of the body. It's your nervous system showing you that there is unprocessed pains stored inside of you. But what we can do is we can learn the art of emotional regulation before we reach this kind of state. Next is difficulty receiving support. So the healthy feminine in us is a receiver. She naturally receives. But the wounded feminine feels unworthy, uncomfortable when receiving love, support, and care. Because for the wounded feminine, giving feels safer than receiving. Because for receiving, you need to open yourself. And opening feels vulnerable, which is danger zone. Next is feeling disconnected from the body. So when you're operating through your wounded feminine, you're mostly living in your head, just neck up, ignoring your body's wisdom. So pleasure, sensuality, and presence, they all feel distant. Something like, they don't belong to you, but to somebody else. Next is feeling depleted, burnt out, and always stuck in the go mode. Now, this obviously happens when we are in our heads, the previous point, and completely shut off from the body signal. So we overdo, overgive, overcare until we start running on empty. Resting in this case feels foreign because it feels like it is something that should be earned instead of feeling like this is what you deserve. Slowing down feels uncomfortable. You almost feel guilty about it. And this cycle, obviously, this way of being, this way of living, leads you to exhaustion. Next is attracting unhealthy relationships. When the wounded feminine is running the show, you get attracted to people who are representation of the unhealed parts of you. They can be emotionally avoidant, unavailable, basically, or controlling. It's not because you deserve less, like this is not happening because somebody's punishing you. It's because it's energy. They're just reflecting the unhealed pain sitting within you. Next is feeling like a victim. When we stay unhealed for a very long time, when we ignore our inner growth, then the wounded feminine finally slips into victimhood. Life feels like that it's just happening to us. We blame others for our circumstances and we find really hard to trust people. Insecurity and suspicions will always be there in the energies. Even if there's no cause behind it, even if nobody's making you feel anything, it'll just be there to make things harder for you to build safer connections. So, my love, this is how the wounded feminine quietly takes over the life that could be soft, beautiful, and whole. But hear me out. Even if it's happening, there's no shame in it. The wounded feminine is not what we truly are. She's simply the story that you've carried for too long. And behind all of this, the masks, the exhaustions, the patterns, Your empowered feminine is waiting. She waits patiently, like a seed under frozen ground. She waits for the moment you remember that being sensitive is a gift, and that intuition that you had once upon a time is your superpower. And softness is your beautiful strength. So, awareness is the first step of the healing process. So, now we have all these points, and we can see whether we actually are operating through wounded feminine or not. The moment you decide that you're now choosing to return to your body, your breath, your truth, the seed that's under the frozen ground will begin to sprout again. The world does not need, right now especially, does not need women to stay stuck in their wounded feminine. The world needs you, your truth, your light, your radiance, your healed version, your intuition, and your unapologetic aliveness. Now, what next? How do we heal this aspect of us? What do we do with it? That's what I'll be sharing in the next episode. So, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.